Hey YouTube, Brandon Beatty Trance. Welcome to our series where I'm going to show you how I put together an uplifting trance track for 2025. And this is a modern sounding track that you might find on State Control Podcast with DJ Phalanx. And the reason I'm using them as an example is because that was my most recent release, was on that record label. So it makes sense. I'll show you how to put together a track that could potentially get signed for that label and the process that I used. Now, the difference between this series and the last series, and if you were with us for the last series, this is the track that you see on the screen we put together in that series. The difference is that in this one, we're going to work on multiple elements in each video at a time. That way you can see in real time how some of these elements work together. Versus in the first series, we spent a lot more time diving into each element in a lot of detail. We talked a little bit about theory, and so the videos took a lot longer. So I want to try to make these videos a little bit more streamlined, maybe not do a lot of the stuff live, but you can let me know in the comments what you prefer. If you prefer the longer format, more uncut videos where it's just me putting the track together live, or if you prefer the cleaner sort of format. So let's go ahead and get started. Open up a completely blank slate. This is where I would say it's important to listen to music that's on the record label that you want to be signed to. That's the most important thing, because each record label will have their own sound or sort of their own requirements or different things that they're looking for in a track to fit their catalog. And we want to spend a little time listening to things like what kind of kick are they using? What kind of claps? Like, is it a hard sounding kick? Is it like a softer kick? Is it like, what's the tempo of the music, you know? And once we have these aspects figured out in our mind, it makes the process of building these tracks a lot easier. The track that I have in mind that I want to make is definitely sort of a peak time track that, again, you would find on a modern trance podcast that is sort of like the high energy portion of the podcast. You know, some of these podcasts start off slow and pick up pace. So I want to build a track that's more for that point in the night where things are picking up. Let's start with the kick. I think that's the best place to start. And again, you don't need too many tools to do this, to follow along. We just need a really good sample pack. The sample pack I'm going to really focus on is this Meta and Glide Trance XL Volume 2. I think it's a great sample pack because everything is tuned and sorted nicely. So let's go to the Trance Kick folder, and we need to decide what key we're going to make this track in. I think obviously A minor is a great choice, and that's the track we made the last track in because it's easy and a lot of tracks are written in A. I think this time though I'm going to go for maybe D. I think D. I think we're going to go for something a little bit lower because D is significantly lower, and I don't think we need. Yeah, I think that would be like a nice driving track. I really do. So let's go ahead to our kicks in G, and I know you can't really hear what I hear right now. Maybe you can. The advice I have when choosing a kick for a track like this is we definitely want something hard hitting and maybe crunchy on the high end. Yeah. See, that one's just doing it for me. It's got this snap and everything to it. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. It's actually going to go into a MIDI track. And again, the most important thing when we're doing this is staying organized. So here's our kick. There we go. Now we have an 8-bar kick loop. Groundbreaking stuff. All right. And let's see. Okay. I mean, I like it. I like how it sounds. I think that's nice. I mean, and if you want, you can always just test out some of these other kicks. Hmm. So let me know what you guys think. What kick would you have used? That one's kind of bouncy. It's like a nice like techno kick or something. Ooh. That one's heavy. That's heavy. I do like that one, but for this track, it's all about that smack, I think. This heavy one I might use for something that was more of a, oh, what's the word? Like just hard style track or something. That one's not bad, but I'm gonna go with this one. All right, and we're not gonna listen to every single one, otherwise this video will be too long. So once we have a nice kick kind of picked out, I think from there we can sort of get our bass groove down. I think that's a good idea. So let's go ahead and make another MIDI track. We're going to put in Spire or whatever synth you like to use. It really doesn't matter which one, and you don't need a million synths. You just need a couple really good ones. And Spire is one of my favorite synths. Plus, it's easy to get nice sound packs for it. You know, here's a lot of trance sound packs. We can pull up like a Sean Tyas one. Look at this. He's got a couple basses in here. So let's just check out something like this. Titanium. And we want to do a driving bass pattern. Well, this bass is not quite going to do it. Okay. Okay, so this is the rolling pattern I came up with to sort of get that driving sound that I'm looking for. And it's, for the most part, it's just a straightforward like rolling pattern. It's not quite a lifted pattern, maybe. It just has this octave jump at the end. And we could add the octave jump to it, see what it sounds like. I don't know. I kind of like the seriousness of no octave jumps and then just doing the octave jump at the end. I think it just sounds a little bit more like hard hitting or something. Whereas with the octave jump, it just sounds like a little bit happier. Like it sounds like it's a happy track. Whereas I'm going for real, again, like driving. Okay, so that's our first mid bass. And I was just trying to layer it with like another one, doing a similar pattern. I think I put the octave jump in this one, but then I put a higher octave at the end. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, I actually like how they sound together, like real gritty and again driving, hard hitting. And for some of these bass sounds, I actually had to put a not only just a high pass filter at 225, but also a low pass filter around 4K because I found this bass actually has a lot of high end information. That's just too much if you listen to it, and that could actually muddy up our hi hat area. It could really cause a lot of problems later on in our mix. So let's keep the mid basses in their respective range. Okay. I'm pretty happy with that. I think, we want to kind of think how these layers work together. This mid bass one is sort of, we're going to say this is like the body. Sorry, one. And we'll say this is like our body. This one, I think we're going for either, if it's not the attack, I mean, I feel like it's more, yeah, there's definitely an attack in there. It's got sort of a poppy and grittiness to it. Yeah, and this one is like more the body. Yeah. So this mid bass is adding to our attack area. And then this third mid bass, I want something that's maybe more movement, something that's like, oh, what's the word? Phase, like doing like a phaser type of effect. So we're just going to go ahead, take a minute to find a sound that's doing that. I think we're going to call up the first sound pattern right here. Okay, so I think I found the third bass that I like that sort of adds like a texture to it, to the sound. And this might change as I go through the project, but for the most part, we have our mid bass patterns and section. Okay. We're going to go ahead and group these together. And so far, all I did for the processing was some low cuts. I only cut the high end on one because it had energy that actually sounded like a hi-hat to my ear, but the other basses didn't have that. So we just want to make sure we're keeping the high end under control. And don't forget to use those techniques that I like to use to make sure we have everything leveled correctly, so we could take a minute, make sure our kick is leveled with the VU meter and is coming in way too hot. So let's take a moment and get our mix levels correct. Do the same for our mid basses. And so we just want to go through each mid bass sound. So we'll solo each one. Make sure that none of them are going too far above zero here on the VU meter. So yeah, that one is just flooring the meter. We're gonna bring it down probably about 9 decibels. And I like to work in rules of 3 because that's about how decibels work. Perfect. So 9 decibels. And we'll do the same for the other layers, and this just helps keep everything under control. See, that one is very loud. We'll do the same for the third layer. Whoops. Wow. Yeah, that one's pretty loud. I gotta put it all the way down. That's why I had to crank the fader down. So if you ever find yourself cranking a fader down, it's because the sound you're working with is probably just way too loud to begin with. You shouldn't have to crank faders down. Okay, so this sound. Actually bring it all the way. I just don't even have to turn it down. There it is. So we're just getting a nice blend of these sounds together. I think the sound that's mostly the body, we want to make a little bit more narrow in the stereo image. So we're going to pull out the utility plugin, which is up here at the top. Okay, and we're going to definitely do bass mono at 150. Let's go ahead and listen to that first layer. You can just tighten it, go all the way. It's too much. I don't notice too much of a difference. Okay. And then this one will keep fully wide. We're just going to make the bass mono again. 150. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with that. Like that's a nice hard hitting driving mid bass line. So from there, we still have more effects we can put onto it. And it's great that I like how it sounds already. And we didn't really do any effects. We didn't do any compression yet. All we did was our basic sort of processing chain just to clean it up. But we didn't do anything really outside of that. So let's go ahead and start diving into our bus processing chain. And let's go ahead and make sure everything has their delay and stuff turned off as well. Yeah, I did here. Yep. Two synthesizers had their delay and reverb on. Okay, so that's sounding nice. Now the next trick I like to do is that kickstart plugin, which is down here. And this one helps us get a nice sort of pumping effect with the mid basses. And a lot of times I'll just use this mids chain effect. That's without it. And here's with it. And then, you know what, real quick, before we even put that on, I didn't even put the groove into the MIDI yet. So we can use a nice groove here to sort of just get something that's not so static. Now, for this track, since it is a driving track, we don't need like a lot of groove. So I like this Swing Logic 16ths, number 51. I think the number means like the percent of groove. So this groove is not too much. There we go. And it just makes a slight difference. I'm not sure if you're going to hear that right away. So I'm going to turn it off and then turn it back on. And you can let me know in the comments if you hear a difference. So this is off. And then this is on. Okay. And now I'm starting to wonder if the music overall is even loud enough for you guys. So what I'm going to do is real quick, I'm going to drop in a gain plugin on the master bus. And I'm just going to boost everything about, I think typically I do about 6 decibels when I'm mixing. That's how much I boost everything. There you go. You guys should be feeling that now. Okay, and that's with the swing on. Let's go ahead and delete these ones. So we only need this one groove. So swing on, swing off. Okay. Yes, I'm digging that. Now we can put the kickstart plugin on. There we go. Yeah, now it feels like a party, right? So let's get our delay in. Actually, sorry, before we do the delay, I guess we could drop this in for now, but shut it off. We want to do our compression. So I like to use something like this compressor down here. Where's my compressor section? Yeah, like Vertigo. That's a decent one. And we just need just a little bit of compression. Don't squash it. Okay. We can do the fastest release. Actually, we just do auto release, and we're just trying to get like 1 to 2 decibels of compression out of this thing. That's it. Just to bring out the transient, just to make the rolling effect just kind of pop a little bit more. That's all. Right there, right there. Once I got like 1 decibel, you could kind of feel it like just actually pulsating, like or somehow just hitting the speaker a little better. So once I got about a decibel of compression, I feel like the mid bass was driving the speakers just a little bit more. So let's go ahead and listen to that again. So this is without it. There's with it. So I think we're just going to adjust it just a little bit. Okay, so once we got the compression squared away, and again, we made sure the processing chain is that we did the gating, then we went to our compressor because we want to compress the gated sound. Then we go into our delay. We don't necessarily need to compress each bass sound individually. That could kind of ruin each sound, in my opinion. Unless like you find that one bass sound is really needs it. I find that the EQ tends to settle a lot of the issues that you would have just doing that high passing. Okay, so let's do our delay. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this now. We can always adjust this later to the track as we build it. But for now, this will get us to the next step. I think we're gonna add the clap next. Let's go ahead and put in we can either do a MIDI track or a audio track. I think in this sample pack, the claps are audio. They do have this. Okay, so they have loops. Okay. So I'm happy with that clap for now. Okay. So to recap today's video, we selected a kick, okay? A nice hard hitting kick, and then we put together a nice driving mid bass section. And then we just selected a clap. And we just spent a little time mixing everything in, making sure everything is at the right levels. And that's it. That's all it takes to get this far into the groove. So next video, we're gonna do a little bit more onto the track. Obviously, we're gonna add some sub bass and maybe some hi-hats and cymbals and things like that, and really start filling out the track. But once we have that basic groove, then we're ready to go, because that's gonna tell us a lot about the track, the way that it's grooving. And since we want a driving track, we have the driving groove. At least that's how it feels for now. All right. Hey, see you guys on the next video. Stay beautiful. Thank you guys for the love and the support. Take care.